Hello, and welcome to Every Child Matters, a podcast by Because One Matters. I'm your host, Andrea Barkley, founder and CEO of Because One Matters. We are a Georgia nonprofit that exists to both positively influence and directly impact the path of foster children and young adults from low-income communities. Our purpose is to show children and young adults that their circumstances don't define them. We want them to know that they matter, they are loved, valued, and that they can be anything they set their minds to. During this podcast, we will talk to individuals with experience in foster care, from previous foster children to foster parents to foster organizations and lawmakers or policymakers. We know that individuals who have directly or indirectly experienced foster care have a story to share, and it is our privilege to share it with you. Today, we are speaking with Laura Maxwell, founder and executive director of Call to Care. Please join us in welcoming Laura and as we talk about foster care from a foster care agency perspective. Hey, Laura, welcome to Every Child Matters podcast. It's so good to have you with us. So let's start by you telling us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I just want to thank y'all for having me. I've really been looking forward to this, so thank y'all for having me tonight. Yes, so I am born and raised here in Tifton, Georgia, where I still live. I'm married to my college sweetheart, Landon, and we have 4 children. And I'm the executive founder, like you said, a director of Call to Care, and we've been doing ministry for going into our 10th year now.
That is awesome. So, Laura, as you know, the purpose of this podcast is to talk about foster care. So tell us a little bit about Call to Care. What do you guys do? How is it Call to Care related to foster care?
Absolutely. So Call to Care, our mission is to educate and equip the communities at which we live in and how they can enter foster care and serving vulnerable families and children, and the case managers who are helping those children as well. And within our ministry, we have 6 focus areas, and those include adoption awareness, as we try to highlight children weekly that are waiting to be adopted, and helping recruit families to do that, and helping onboard them and the different agencies that assist with that. We also do mission trip awareness, and again, just educating our communities about any mission trips abroad that are serving vulnerable families and children, whether it be through an orphanage or family preservation. So making sure people are aware of those and helping people to be able to take those trips. We also serve the foster care community. That's our biggest area of service. And through that, we provide something called journey bags, which is like a toiletry bag for each child that is affected by foster care. We also provide each child with a clothing bag to make sure they have the clothing items that they need. And of course, those bags vary from gender to age to make sure the children have exactly what they need. As far as furnishings, the only things we provide for children are beds, bedding, and pillows. We provide a lot of beds, almost 600 beds just last year. So we do a lot of beds for children. We have a program called Love on Caseworkers, where we actually go out and serve all the caseworkers within our service area, which is 22 counties. So it's a little about 350 caseworkers. And we do this every single month through volunteers. So we recruit churches, businesses, individuals, Sunday school classes to go to their local office and serve them in some capacity each month. We also provide free trauma-informed education. We believe that is so critical, and so we provide it at no cost to anyone who would like that training, and we do it once a year in the spring, and then we are excited to be able to start teaching it in schools this year. So we're bringing that to our school systems beyond just offering it locally. And the last way that we serve is actually through a teen mentorship program that we collaborate with our local DFACs on. So we get all of our teens in care together monthly and have a mentorship program for about 10% of them, which is 30 kids that actually go into a deeper part of that program. So those are like our biggest service areas.
No, that is awesome. So tell me a little bit more about your journey bags and your clothing bags. These are for foster kids. Are these to the foster parents that you serve, or is just foster kids in general?
Well, actually, yeah, that's a great question. We actually provide these in about 3 areas. So, when the state has to step in and investigate a family for possible, neglect or abuse or something, many times we find that that's not actually occurring, or I guess they do, that there is a lot of times just some other struggles, usually poverty, which I know you're super familiar with. And so, at that point, they would start putting in what's called family preservation plan to support this family to help keep these children out of foster care. We want to do that, right, anytime we
Uh-huh.
can. So we provide bags for those children then and beds. We provide all the same services to those biological families. In the case where the state has to intervene and remove those children, now that care kind of shifts from the bio family to now our foster family, whether that be a traditional foster home or a relative placement. The kids are still able to get those items. Depending on what county the children are in, some of our resource centers, which is what we call our offices, are set up. The kids actually are able to come and shop for those items. And
Oh,
some of
okay.
our smaller communities, we actually pack the bags for the kids. Just kind of depends on the situation and what's going on. But that is something we are trending towards, as having basically full functioning stores, for lack of a better word, that the kids can
Yes.
come in and pick those items. We do get as many details as we can, so we know what their favorite toys are. We do get wish list items. If they love pink, we try to make sure the bedding's pink, and these teens, if there's a certain shoe they want, we want to make sure we get that and things like that. And then the third area is in that transition area, when children are going back home or maybe moving into an adoptive placement. We typically may provide these services again and helping families be set up for success. So we have put many beds and bedding and things like that into homes of biological families that are working hard on reunification and trying to start those overnight visits. Just don't want something like that to be an obstacle for, a lot of times it's single moms that have worked so hard, and we want to make sure she has what she needs.
And that is so important. That I totally agree with you, because those are the similar services that we provide. But it's so important to help support bio families, because yes, kids come into foster care, and like you said, it could be something simple. It could be a single mom and she's struggling and she's trying to weigh her option of, work, pay her rent, pay utilities, buy food, and something as simple as, the kids don't dress appropriately and defects is called in for whatever reason. So it's important to support the bio families too, as much as we can, because sometimes it's just something simple that they need, like you said, a bed or some clothing. I like that you guys have what we call a clothing closet, where those kids could come in and shop for their clothing items and pick out their own clothes, because that's giving them a little bit of dignity. Now, your clothing closet, is it new and gentle use items, or what is it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are a good mix between gently used and new items. We've been very blessed to partner with many boutiques and sporting goods stores and clothing stores in our community that, as their inventory rolls out, seasonally, donate those items to us. So we go through them and put them up and get them ready for the next season. And then, of course, we're always taking in gently used items. We have amazing staff and group of volunteers that sort through every single item to make sure it's in mint condition before it goes out for the kids. So it's a good mix. I would say the majority of our shoes are new now. We try to do new shoes because kids are rough on their shoes.
Yes.
So, but every now and then we've all bought shoes and our kids wore them one time and their foot grew. So we do have some of those in our stores, but overall they are new. And then
Yes.
as far as pajamas, underwear and socks and bras, all those items are brand new. Those things that we
Absolutely.
provide are brand new. Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we'll be right back with more from Laura for the Every Child Matters podcast after the break. Stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back, Laura. So now let's talk about the foster care system in general. What are your thoughts on the foster care system as a whole?
Well, as far as foster care system goes as a whole, I do see it as such a necessary part of our country and our state and the way we are set up to protect children. Um, I see so many bad things in the news. I know you do too, where I feel like people really come down hard on the foster care system and the way things are done. And it's so hard. These policies and laws are written, and we know, you and I know, because we worked on many cases, no two are the same. It's not cookie cutter. And so a lot of these policies and laws are written with generalities and best case scenarios. And so it's just so important that groups like us are in the mix and
Yes.
helping advocate and partner with other groups like CASA and things like that to help advocate for these individual needs. It's kind of like the school system, right? We've got public general education, and how awesome and wonderful is that? Foster care is the same way. But when you get down in it, in the school system, we've got what we call IEPs, these individualized education plans. And it's the same way in foster care. We've got these general policies and laws, but they don't always fit perfect. And so I just believe it's so important that we enter as many people as we can in these children's stories to advocate for them. And so they get basically an individualized care plan so that we're able to meet those individual needs of them and their families.
And even advocating for the bio parents too, because, people assume that because a child is in foster care, that parent is bad. And it's not always true.
Oh,
It is
no,
not
rarely.
always true. So, we got to support these bio parents because, especially now, people are struggling. You go to the grocery store and, eggs, it's super expensive. So people are struggling now. So I think it's important that we support not only foster parents and the foster kids, but the bio parents when we can.
Yeah, and supporting these caseworkers too who are working
Yes.
these plans and coming alongside of them. I know with our teen mentorship program, we're able to get kind of glean in on these kids' lives and see what's going on and kind of say, like, this kid's struggling with this. What in our community could this kid do beyond therapy? What else is there that could help serve this child well? And so with these caseworkers having so much on them, it's awesome to be able to make suggestions and help the kids get what they need through getting businesses and other groups to come in and rally around these kids and their families.
Right.
And yeah, the same thing with the biological families. With foster care, you've got all these government programs, which I'm grateful for because there's no group, you or I, that can provide food for the hungry, health care for the unhealthy, like the way the government can. And though those programs aren't perfect, I feel like they're necessary, but it's wonderful that while they're getting that help that we can't provide, that we can also connect them with local food banks and local clinics and doctors that can help meet their needs, connect them with the dentist so that, they're not just receiving resources in the mail or some kind of electronic card or even over the computer, but that they're making connections with their community and building, authentic relationships that'll help their family as they move forward.
Absolutely. And I think you answered my next question that I was going to talk about is that, but maybe you could share more things about it. What can organizations like us do to make a difference? I know you mentioned about supporting the caseworkers, and we talked about supporting the bio families and the foster families, but what else can we do to help make a difference in the foster care system?
Yeah, this is actually something I preach to my staff all the time. As we're encountering these families, just like a caseworker does, we're one person who's meeting so many people with so many different diverse needs. So, building relationships with those families and getting to know them and helping them to figure out what they need. They don't even know what they need, obviously, to help them or figuring out what these kids need. That allows us to connect the dots within our community. So organizations like us, it's just really essential that we know what all the other agencies and resources are in our communities so that we can get as many people engaged with these families as possible because we are going to build some relationships with some of these families, right? I know you have. I've got some deep friendships now, relationships I've had for going on 10 years. But do I remember every case we work? No way. There's just no way that one person can do it all and be the, beginning and the end of all of this. So I think it's just really important that we make those connections and bring in as many people as we can to serve in whatever capacity that looks like. So just a little example is we've got, in my town, we have a bakery that provides cupcakes when it's the kids' birthdays. And so now those, whether it's the bio mom or the foster mom, wherever those kids are, they're able to go in with their voucher at their birthday and get that. But now they're building relationships with all the girls and the guys in the bakery, and and then they're connecting with these families too, and taking like the stigma away from kids in care, taking the stigma away from moms who are at risk of losing their children or maybe once did. And I think it makes our communities better now and for generations to come. So it just helps break that cycle. So many of these families, feel isolated and alone in their communities. Many of them have never shopped in a store beyond the quickie store on their corner for even food. So getting them out and getting them in their community, it's a blessing on both ways. Both ways. It blesses everybody.
Absolutely. So you mentioned a couple of things that is really, really important. Partnership is so important in the nonprofit sector if we're serving foster families, like you said, because we need to support each other. We need to share information, because just because I'm doing something and you might be doing the same thing, it doesn't mean that we're competing against each other. It means that we are able to together serve more families. Or you might be doing something, we both have a clothing closet, but you could say, Andrea, I'm doing my clothing closet this way because I find that XYZ. And I'm like, okay, that's a good point. Maybe we should try it on our end, and then you mentioned stigma. Stigma is something that I'm just hoping one day we could remove the word foster kids and just refer to them as children, because they're just children. They're, I hate that word foster because it's just a stigma, like you said. So I just hope that people, I talk to foster parents a lot, and they say, when they're in the grocery store, people say, oh, that must be your foster kid. One mom said to me, she said she turned around and she said, no, that is my child. And that's exactly what they are. They're a child. They're not foster. So that's
absolutely right. That label is terrible. I hate that label.
Yes,
so much.
It is. And exposure, giving these kids exposure, because you're right. Some of them have never gone shopping before. And so even them coming and shopping in our clothing closet, that's an experience. That is a memory that they will take with them. We do back to school drive and we have the kids come in and shop. So that is a memory and experience, exposure that we're giving them. We take them to outings and stuff. That's an exposure, exposing them to different industry, even them going to getting their birthday cake. They're being exposed to a business owner. They're being exposed to employees.
That there's all these wonderful people that really care about them. And you're right. So many times I've taken and never been in a restaurant. They go to school and they go home. And so they just don't have, they don't get the life experiences that make this life such a blessing. And
exactly. They don't
as many people as we can bring in, we want to bring in, because I might not connect with them, but the next person might. And that's what we want them to know, that this community, I think the term people are using now is foster friendly. The communities are foster friendly. And so I think that's just something that agencies like us need to do. Like I said, we serve 22 counties. No two of my counties function the same, because we're looking at the individual needs, the individual services. Some communities are so blessed with so much, some are not. And so we serve differently depending on what our families need. One may provide food and the other one doesn't.
Absolutely.
So, just making sure you're serving them to the best of your abilities, for sure.
Absolutely. So what is the number one reason, and I know this might be difficult, but what is the number one reason why you feel that people should get involved with foster care, not just as a foster parent, but foster care in general?
Well, I think the number one reason is that we want to break the cycle of foster care. I don't know the stats, you might know, but it's a pretty high number of if you are in care, that your children will likely also enter care at some point.
Absolutely.
And so breaking that cycle, that's one of the main reasons we're here, is being able to help these children heal to the best of our abilities with all the people in our community that we can. so that their children will not go into care. And if you ask them, do you want your children to go into care? Absolutely not. Nobody wants that.
Of course, and nobody's going to say yes.
Right. Nobody wants that. And, but yet we see it.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we see it, and we see it over and over again. And so having strong programs, mentorship, especially for these teens, to make sure that cycle does not repeat itself, so that they can have a full life in the community that they grew up in, and be able to give back and love others the way they were loved on. So to me, that's the number one reason why people need to enter. It makes our communities better, and it makes our whole state stronger. It makes us stronger to get to work together and help serve these families.
Yes. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to play a little game called Would You Rather This or That?
All right, sounds fun.
And we're back. Okay, Laura, we're going to play a game called Would You Rather This or That? I'm going to name two things, and you have to pick one. You have to answer quickly. No time for thinking. Are you ready?
I think so.
Would you rather summer or winter?
Winter.
Uh-oh, you're thinking. Nope. Okay, beach or mountain?
Mountain.
You're thinking.
Sorry.
Have the ability to see 10 minutes into the future or 150 years in the future?
10.
Netflix or Hulu?
Ooh, Netflix. I love them both.
I know. Night or morning?
Night.
Okay. Have a personal maid or a personal chef?
Maid.
Would you rather vomit on your superhero or have your hero vomit on you?
Vomit.
On them?
Yes.
Always be 10 minutes late or always be 20 minutes early?
Early.
Oh, find a rat in your kitchen or a roach in your bed?
Roach.
You got a roach in your bed? Red wine or white wine?
I can't drink wine.
Okay, never mind.
Okay. But white would be my yes.
Okay, Android or iPhone?
iPhone. Oh my goodness.
Solve world hunger or global warming?
World hunger.
Education or experience?
Experience.
See the future or change the past?
Oh, those both sound terrible. Oh gosh, the past.
Success or happiness?
Oh, happiness.
Okay, that was fun. You paused a lot, but that was fun. It made you think. Laura, I want to thank you for being our guest. I appreciate our conversation. It was a really good conversation. So thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having us, and saying back to you, I'm so grateful for the work you guys are doing there too, and thanks for letting me come on and chat with you. It always inspires me to talk to you.
Oh, good. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Every Child Matters. For more information on Because One Matters, please visit us at becauseonematters.org. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast. We are now on Apple Podcasts, so please subscribe and follow. Leave us a rating and follow us on social media at Because One Matters. I've been your host for this episode, Andrea Barkley, and it's been a pleasure to join you. Until next time, be a difference maker.